Oh, well, let's kick off with Joe Biden's pledge ahead of COP26 that the US will double the money it's making available to help developing countries cope with climate change. Very good evening to both of you. George, why don't we start with you first? I'm sure you heard the announcement. Great news, isn't it?
Well, sort of. I mean, finally, the government of the US is making good pledges, which are, what are they now, 12 years old? And to be honest, it scarcely touches the sides. I mean, this is a massive amount of investment required to help poorer nations. It also should represent just a small part of the huge climate debt which rich nations owe to the poor ones due to the impacts of our greenhouse gases.
Well, hang on a minute, George. Doubling climate finance to $11 billion. It's a huge amount of money. And it's good in the sense that it shows that the US is leading the way, but also that the UK is able to make a difference ahead of COP26.
Well, look, any increment in money is good, but it's still, I mean, it sounds like a lot. It is a lot, but it's tiny. I mean, really, really tiny. When you think of all the nations which are already suffering climate crises right now and are going to suffer much worse climate crises as a result primarily of the greenhouse gases that the rich nations have produced. So we did this to them. And this is a very small reparation by comparison, and also far too little money to actually help them out of the emergencies which we've landed on them.
Yeah. Juliet, let's get your thoughts on this. This is what President Biden said earlier. Let's remind ourselves. He said it's a chance for each of our countries to invest in ourselves and our own futures. Are you confident that this money, even if it's not enough, will be spent wisely and won't be frittered away?
Oh, my goodness, no way. I mean, it's already got shades of Austin Powers around it. You know, these huge just numbers said. What do they mean? Where are they going? Where is this money going? What's being done with it? What are the strings attached? Because, you know, however money circulates, generally, and certainly from the wealthy polluting countries, there are strings attached. They want to see return on investment. So I would love it a lot more if I could hear where that money was going. They were investing in the education of women in remote rural areas, which is actually tackling one of the biggest challenges causing the climate emergency. How people ask, you know, well, it tackles population situation. Women get married later. They have fewer, healthier children. They're better equipped to deal with extreme weather. They contribute better to the economy. So these are the kind of conversations I want to hear. And I also will get much more excited when I hear about the perpetrators, the polluters, instead of these gestures and giving money to the poorer countries, saying this is how we're bringing down our emissions, these are the numbers, and this is how we're doing better, instead of sort of trying to look
Juliet,
like
that leads very nicely on to my next question, actually. President Bolsonaro of Brazil, he said today, we do hope industrialised countries will actually fulfil their commitments to climate funding. I mean, Juliet, there's an irony there, isn't there, that he is lecturing the rest of us on how to tackle climate change?
Absolutely. Look, I don't want to hear about these pledges and these commitments. I just want to see the numbers of emissions being brought down from the industrialized ways of the wealthier countries, rather than this sort of atonement and whatever you want to call it, offsetting almost. We really want to understand how the causes of the climate emergency are being tackled.